was assigned to Vietnam in May of 1967 and left Vietnam in May of 1968. I was an officer in the Army, and I was assigned to a variety of units while I was in Vietnam. All these units were located on Long Binh. That's a major American Army base that was established on the outskirts of Saigon. It was about 30 miles outside of Saigon, and being a major base, it had about 15,000 people on it. One of the major units assigned to Long Binh was the 3rd Ordinance Battalion, which operated what was then the largest ammunition dump in the world. It supplied ammunition for artillery units in the area, and there were a lot of artillery units in that area. Most of the time, the Viet Cong observed an undeclared ceasefire for the duration of the entire Tet holiday, which can extend for several days. In 1968, they decided to instead use that to run a series of coordinated attacks on the major cities of South Vietnam and American military bases and air bases. They coordinated the attacks between the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese Army. While I was stationed at Long Binh, we got very nervous, even though the attacks that had been going on as a result of the Tet Offensive had been going on in other cities and other Army posts, but we knew it was going to be our turn soon. One night I went to bed and was laying in bed and had my eyes closed, just a few seconds away from falling asleep, I believe. And it seemed like somebody came into a room and turned on the lights. And you know, even though you have your eyes closed, you can tell when those lights go on. So I opened my eyes, and there, looking outside of the openings in our building, I could see a big yellow glow in the sky. And I remember thinking, as clearly as if it was yesterday, that is the biggest flare I have ever seen in my life. I cleaned that up a little bit. And then I said, probably in another millisecond, that's no flare. And I rolled out of bed, and I rolled under the bed. And then the explosion hit. And it was a shockwave. And it rattled the whole building and shook wall lockers over and shook lights down from the ceiling. So I rolled out from under the bed and went and grabbed my helmet, my flak jacket, my weapon, and proceeded to run to the company area. We were fairly sure that the explosion was the beginning of an attack on our area. So I got up to the company area and noticed that what was really going on was one of the large piles of ammunition that had been stacked in the vicinity of the 3rd Ordnance Battalion. Even though it was on the order of a half a mile away, you could still tell that it was burning furiously, because not everything blew up, some of it burned. Very soon we started getting rain, except that the rain wasn't wet. The rain was dry, and what it was the ashes of the powder that had been blown up about a half a mile away, taking about 5 to 10 minutes to go up in the air and then come down on us. And it kept going on for quite a period of time. Right about then, some helicopters showed up and proceeded to strafe with machine guns and rockets the general area around the ammunition dump. And I always thought those were very brave pilots to be firing machine guns and rockets into an area where you knew large piles of ammunition were stored. Because just then there was another flash, and you could tell what was coming. It was another pile of ammunition. Usually those piles of ammunition are separated far enough so that an explosion from one will not ignite the explosives in the other pile. But either one of those things flew too far, or the Viet Cong were still running around throwing satchel charges into the new ammunition pile. But that was the end of it. And we proceeded to watch the war after that because the helicopters kept shooting machine guns and kept shooting rockets and things kept burning. And after some time, we went to bed and got up the next day and did our regular job.